everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I'm really excited about today's broadcast. It's been a little bit over a week since I last came on. I believe it was when the White Power rally at the Capitol. That was the last time that I did a live stream. So I'm happy to be back. And talk about it, all the things that have been going on since then. Hey Bree, hey girl, thank you for tuning in. Shout out to my sister Bree for tuning in. I'm gonna get started in just a second. I'm trying to add just a couple photos here, so that I can, make sure I have all of the resources that I need to get started. But I won't make you wait too long, because I do not want to be on here for 4 hours again. That was not in the plans last time, so I'm definitely not trying to do that again. Welcome, y'all. Welcome. If you have not already, please follow me on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere you can find me. The link should be somewhere in the description box. If they're not, you can reverse it at some point and find them there. I have actually figured out a live stream schedule. One of the things that I have come to realize about doing these streams is that people be wanting to see you on a regular basis, and they don't want to have to wait to see when you come in and all of that. So I have decided to I've decided to do, somewhat of a schedule, if you will. So Tuesday is going to be the book discussion day. I have been doing book discussions on Stamped from the beginning for about 3 to 4 months now. I have explained over and over and over why I am discussing this book, why I felt like it was relevant, why I felt like it was pertinent to now. So I'm not going to go into all of that again, but we are going to be discussing the books from here on out on Tuesdays. On Thursdays, which is today, I want to do more culture type topics. So I have this series on my YouTube channel called What's Poppin'. And so I run down everything that's going on in pop culture. I talk about, what's relevant to my channel, the theme of the type of content I produce. And so I will be doing that on Thursday. So you can expect to see me live on Tuesdays and Thursdays from here on out. Now, of course, I have 2 toddlers. I co-own a business with my husband. I'm also a communications consultant. So there may be days when I have to skip, or I may have to, substitute a day or whatever. But generally, I'm going to try to come on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I was not originally planning to do a stream about the inauguration. I think that the previous 4-hour stream was more than enough to kind of articulate how I feel about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the presidential offices. But I was on Twitter yesterday, which I said I was not going to do. I said I was not going to be on Twitter during the inauguration. My husband was like, Jessica, don't do that to yourself. And I did it anyway. And I ended up having an interesting Twitter exchange with some of the people that I follow, and who I do not know them really personally, but I have either met them once before, or I know of them through someone else, and we're just connected on social media. Why is that important? That's important because it's going to lead into toward the end a point that I've been trying to make with all my live streams. It's not important that you know the individual's names. I'm not even going to share the names of the tweets because it's not about people. It's about an idea, but it's also very important for you to know my connection. I try to be very transparent when I am speaking about anything, really, because so many of us, we have these social media alter egos, and that doesn't really help us, in the big picture. That doesn't help us because we end up selling an image that is not true. And I had a conversation several years ago with Tim of Closed Minded, and we talked about perception. And we talked about how people often say, perception is reality. Perception is not reality. Perception is perception. But most people don't really view it that way. Most people are not consciously thinking about, oh, this is, social media. So this is not what these people live like, or this is not how they really are. People don't sit and do that when you're fed all these images all day long. You're just consuming it and it's having an effect on you, and you may not even really be aware of it. So I try to make a point to be very transparent and as honest as I can be when I come on to the live stream. So before we get into the topic, I just want to do a little housekeeping. Please like this video. Please like it. Please share it. This helps other people have an opportunity to engage in the conversation. You're connected to people that I'm not connected to. You know people who don't know me. You know people who are crazy about this topic and love talking about it that I don't know. So when you like the video, when you share it, it helps it amplifies it, and it gives others an opportunity to see it. It increases the reach. It increases the reach. Also, so in addition to liking and sharing the video, make sure that you leave comments. Don't be afraid to talk to me, y'all. Please don't be afraid to talk to me. One of the main reasons why I took this publicly, because I've been reading these books and I've been having these kind of conversations for years and years in private with either my husband, my sister, every now and then other people. The reason why I took this public is so that we can start engaging in these conversations as a group, because I think we take for granted a lot of things. We take for granted that everyone knows certain information. We take for granted that nobody cares. And so I wanted to foster an environment where we can have these conversations very safely. These streams, when I started this out, it was before I went through this little journey myself. So when I started this out, I knew kind of what I wanted to do, but I wasn't all the way clear on it. So I started it out as more of a let's all talk about this. But as I have grown, as I have experienced actually doing this and what it's like to carry it out, I've since realized that this is not a stream necessarily for white people. That when I speak in these streams, I'm talking to Black folks. That's what this conversation is for. And the reason being, I feel like that's something that we really have to do. We're at that point as a country. We're at that point in our lives to where we have to really talk about these things and be engaged in using the resources and tools that we have. The civil rights movement today looks a lot different from the initial one. So I felt like this was my way that I can do something despite COVID-19, despite my schedule, despite all of that. I can still contribute something, and this was my way. And I feel like it's something that needs to now be for us. That's not to say white people shouldn't watch it. I don't mean it. I don't mean that at all. I welcome everyone who wants to have this conversation in a respectful and intelligent manner. However, when I'm addressing things, I'm addressing it from my heart of being, in a place for my community. So let's see what else. Oh, let me tell you this. So I started a private Facebook community. I started a book club for that community, and that community book club turned into its own community. So as I mentioned, on Tuesdays, I'll be talking about the books, and this coming Tuesday, January 26th, we'll be discussing part 3 of this. Now, this is not the book discussion, but I'm going to be referencing it a lot because everything is so relevant. Like, you can't make up how relevant all of this stuff is. So it's gonna, it's crossing over. And I'm not, I know you may not be reading the book, but it's still important that I share this information because we need to, like I said, start having these conversations. When we pick back up, we'll be talking about part 3, which is centered around William Lloyd Garrison. And I'm really expecting things to become a lot more interesting with this book. Not that they haven't been interesting already, but I'm expecting them to be a lot more interesting because we're really getting close to the era in which we refer to a lot when it comes to, the racial struggle. We always refer to the Martin Luther King era, the sit-ins and segregation and all of that. And so the book is finally starting to go into that direction. And I'm saying finally because I've been reading it for a very long time. I haven't been reading it at a pace I normally would. But it's getting to the good part. Well, I want to say good part, but it's getting to an area of time that most of us are familiar with and tend to be more interested in. So I'm excited about that. I'm trying to pull up my website here. If you are interested in learning any of that information, or participating, learning anything about the book club, learning anything about the project, what I'm planning to do with it, what I want to do with it, what I'm hoping to do with it, please visit my website. From there, you'll be able to find all the information about the Facebook groups. You can request to join, all of that. The reason why I created the Facebook groups is because of the nature of this conversation. It's not a popular one. It's not one that can be had in short bursts. It's something that when you talk about it, you really need the time and space to really talk about it. So I created those communities for that reason. And you can find all of that information on my website. Now, very quickly, before we get into more of the topic, the next book that we'll be reading is The Color of Compromise. This is written by Jamar Tisby. This is our next book. I expect to start this around mid-February. So you have plenty of time to order it. I will put the link in the description box. You can find it on my website as well. For this book, I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently. And I'm planning to host some digital panel events for you, if you're interested to come on and share your story or to share your thoughts about the book. I don't want this conversation just to I'm fine with moderating it, but I really want to hear what you have to say. And sometimes I want to see your voices while you're saying it. See your faces while I'm hearing your voices as you're saying it. So if you are interested in sharing your story or being part of any digital panels, please email me. My email address is there. This book is about the history of racism in the American church and how the church has been complicit in it. So this book has a lot of controversy surrounding it, as you can imagine, with it being written by a Black man, and white Christians are going to be white Christians when it comes to certain conversations. And so this book is a good one. If you want to participate in it, if you have a story to share about the church or whatever, please do email me. Hey, April, thank you for watching. Thanks so much. April is my cousin, so my family's showing me love. There's nothing like supportive family. So, okay, let's get into it. I have something that I want to show to you. And let's see here if I can pull it up. Let me make sure I get the right one. All right. So there's something that I talk about a lot in my discussions. And I know some of y'all, if you watch this on a regular basis, you might be tired of hearing it. But I have to talk about it for a reason. It's really, really important that we understand this concept. Hold on just a second. Okay, so I have referenced several times a concept called uplift suasion, right? I have said it and said it and said it and said it. Here is why I continue to reiterate this. I do not want to take for granted that everyone knows what this is, because I did not know what this was until I started reading this book. I want you to really grasp this concept. I want you to understand it. I want you to think about it, really ponder on it until you can recognize it instinctively. I want you to be able to see this and recognize it when it's happening in real time and cast it out, because I believe that this concept, this strategy, is why our community has not progressed. I feel like this was the nail in the coffin, so to speak, for our community. And I want to make sure that we understand it and can deal with it. So uplift suasion is a strategy. And I'm assuming Dr. Kendi coined this, the author of the book. But the strategy is it's based on the idea that white people can be persuaded away from their racist ideas if they saw Black people improving their behavior, if they saw Black people uplifting themselves from their low position in America. If Black people could do those things, we would be good. We would be good. White people would not, they would not feel a way about us. They would be just happy. Everything would be great if we could just do these things. Now, the problem with it is that puts the burden of race relations, the burden of dealing with racism, completely on the Black person, right? It puts it all on them. If you will see from here, first of all, racism, wait, let me, I want to say this. I want to say this. Before I went on this self-discovery, spiritual journey, spiritual transformation in my personal life over the last 2 years, I had certain ideas about being Black. I had certain ideas about being Black, and because we're Black before we're anything. I had certain ideas about being Black and educated, being Black and Christian, being Black and being a woman, being Black and being a wife. Before I had this idea of what that meant. And now, like, learning about uplift suasion, I realized that I was guilty of that in my own life. That I would think, it's hard, it's a hard thing to admit, but that I could somehow I could make up for racism if I just went to college and got a degree. That I would be respected, that I would be, I would be like, this is what you do. This is going to, you're going to be successful. Life is going to be great. You're going to get those job interviews. You're going to get all that. But that is not how it works. Am I making sense? That's not really how it works. And it took my experience, and I've talked about this a lot. I'm not going to go into all that right now, but it took my experience in feeling that way and having these thoughts about Black folks and what it meant to be Black and how to navigate Black and being Black in America. And then I went through this spiritual situation, this journey to where I was literally at my lowest, everything in every way, lowest career wise, lowest in relationships and lowest with God. I was at my rock bottom. Never had ever been to that place before. And I realized as I was coming out of it, as I was hanging in there, trying to, figure it out, I realized that what we're dealing with in America is a spiritual thing. That it's a lot more spiritual than we realize, and a lot more spiritual than we treat it. Right? So if you think about, if you look at America from a biblical standpoint, if you look at America biblically, and not necessarily the people of America, but the actions of America, the actions of those in power in America. If you look at that, you can easily see that there is an evil demonic spirit at work. That this is not just how people think. This is not normal. This is not your nature. That is not my nature to be this hateful. That's a spirit. And I don't think we really treat it like that. And so I want to encourage you, as we're talking about these things, as we're having these conversations, as we're reading the book and going on to new books and examining and having commentary on certain events, I want to challenge you to look at it from a spiritual perspective, but also to read the Bible and make parallels. To me, and Tony is my husband. I brought him on the last stream. I remember we talked about racism one day, and he was saying like, "Oh, that's like a mental illness." That's what he has always said. He's always said that racism was like a mental illness, and I believe that, because he's like, "How can you just hate someone because of their color? How can you hate about a person because of what they look like?" Like the people who stormed the Capitol 12, 13 days ago, they had this spirit, right? So we don't really talk about it from that way, but I feel like that's where the shift can begin, when we start to look at it spiritually. And I want to show you something to kind of support why I feel like white supremacy and racism are evil demonic spirits, because you can look at the characteristics of it. You can look at the characteristics of it, how it manifests in everyday life, and you can easily see characteristics of Satan. And I know that probably sound like spooky, weird, but I mean, that is just the connection that I see. If you can relate to that, or if you have any thoughts on that, I'm curious to know if you've ever considered the issue that we're having to be a spiritual one in our country. Because we talk about it in some ways like, oh, we need the soul of America again. And when politicians and stuff say that we have a soul, and I'm always wondering, like, what soul are y'all referring to? Because history tells me that, I don't want to go back to the soul of America. At least we got some illusions right now. But I don't want to go back to the soul of it. That soul? So I want to show you a scripture from John, is chapter 8, verse 44. You belong to your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Okay, so if you think about what racism has done to the Black community, if you think about what white supremacy has done to our entire country, to all groups of people, that looks like murder. That looks like lies, a native language of lie. It looks like not telling the truth. It looks like making Black people responsible for reversing something that they don't have anything to do with. That looks like Satan to me. I want to share another scripture to make my point. because when, you know, we talk about lynching, we talk about all of the things that went on, the cross burnings, the murders, the beatings, the rape, and all of that, slavery. It is very much a steal, kill, and destroy mission. So when I look at what we're dealing with spiritually, you know, I'm talking about it from a place of just looking at how it has impacted our lives. Hey, she said it. I didn't say it. That's interesting. That's interesting. My sister had worked at a home, but we ain't gonna go. We ain't gonna go there. So yeah. So yeah, right. So that, Shalice, you're kind of getting into what I want to kind of mention about the inauguration. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Like, it's not like, if we are the nation that we say we are, the nation that we say we love, the America, this land is your land, this land is my land, and we're not dealing with this spirit that is clearly evil, we're not calling it what it is, something's wrong. It doesn't make sense. Somebody lying. Something ain't something's just not adding up. So I want to like kind of put a pin there and start talking a little bit about Joe Biden. And I promise I'm going to get to the toxic social media culture part of this, but I just kind of want to set these things up. I did not pull that quote, but there's a quote from this book. And actually, there's more than one quote in this book, and it talks about how Black people are forgiving. Like, that was our reputation back in the 1800s, the early 1900s, that Black people were just a forgiving people. That we you know what? I'll read the actual quote. I didn't pull it up, but I have to say this. Y'all remember Uncle Tom's Cabin? That book was very, very influential. And so in it, they characterized Black people. They characterized Black people, and they talked about early in slavery, they started trying to figure out, how, why Black people are the way they are. They've been trying to figure that out forever. But Uncle Tom's Cabin, that piece of literature was very instrumental. I can't find it in here. I probably went too far back, but in short, Uncle Tom's Cabin described Black people as very docile, that Black people make the best Christians because they're always relying on a higher power. They're very forgiving. They like to have someone mastering them, so to speak. That has been our reputation. That has been how we look at how people have looked at our community. And when you see like what has happened with Joe Biden, it's still really going on. And so what I want to do with these talks, what I want to do with these live streams, is bring light to things that are hidden in plain sight as it relates to us, and as it relates to the way that we're treated in different spaces, especially politically. And we do it to our own detriment. Like, we do it to our own detriment. I have to find that quote. I have to. But while I'm looking for it, I just want to talk about Joe Biden and the inauguration. I just want to go on and get into it. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden in any shape or form. I'm not a fan of him. I am very saddened by the way that many Black people have just allowed him to finesse us, not me, but us as a whole, and how he has pretty much gotten away with all of You know, all of the things that he's done. Okay, I found the quote. I gotta say this. Okay, so in Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin. In it, she said, Black people's lowly, docile nature in their hearts, their aptitude to always need a superior mind and rest on a higher power, their childlike simplicity of affection, meaning we're very emotional. We love this soul. You can pull and tug on our heartstrings, and the facility of forgiveness. In all these, they will exhibit the highest form of the Christian life. Only enslavement was holding back. So basically, what she was saying is Black people liked being slaves. Black people needed their masters. That was what was promoted about us. And if you fast forward to now, we still seem collectively, we still seem to have this desire and this dependence on white approval. Like we still have a need to prove ourselves to white people. We still have a need to, or a desire to be in their circles, to be with them, to have friends with them, to marry them, to make every other group of people, we're the sacrificial lambs, we're the burden bearers. Like that, we've always been that. And now it's to the point where we do it to ourselves. It's mental enslavement because of this strategy that I want to continue to reiterate. When Black people were beginning to become free, after slavery, when they started to become free, I've told you, I've shared before that there was an organization that was created to basically teach Black people how to be successful in society. And it was based off of uplift suasion. You go to church, you get a good job, you don't make trouble, don't get anything luxurious. You stay within your family, you do this and you do that, and we are going to accept you. And white America never really had to deal with the problems that they created. They never had to deal with the things that they've done. That was always put back on us. And the reason why I say today we still do this is because we have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in office. And one thing I have to say, I've experienced a lot in life. I've been in a lot of different circles. I have tried to be on the straight and narrow, and I have just come to realize that the rules are just for us. That we didn't do what these Trump supporters and Republicans did on the Capitol. We've never done anything like that. And we're not applauded for it. We're not, like, they don't even care. We had an inauguration and a speech about unity and making friends of our enemies, which a Black man said, by the way. And we ain't really dealt with what happened. And I don't want us to get caught up in this thing like, oh, Trump is out of office. Yes. Like, we can agree that we're all glad he's gone. All of us. I'm happy to not see another crazy Donald Trump tweet. But at the same time, I've been over that. Him tweeting and doing all that stuff, my life wasn't no different from what it always has been. Black people's lives were no different from what it has been. So I want us to be very careful as we go into this new phase in America, this new chapter, that we understand this ain't about Trump. It's not about him. The people that stormed the Capitol were not these crazy one-off folks. They were everyday people. They were people with companies. They were police officers. They were firefighters. They were real estate agents. They were healthcare professionals. They were not these crazy, uneducated, white trash kind of people. So if that's the case, then you have to know that they ain't the only ones that's feeling the things that they're feeling. And what they're feeling is that something is being taken away from them. And the gag is, we really own everything. but we're mentally enslaved here. So we have no type of power or leverage to get the things that we need done. And I'm going to prove it to you. And the reason why we can't is because of uplift suasion, because of this desire to play nice and you know, not offend people and not do that. And that's really getting us nowhere. And criticism, you know, you have to be able to critique things. That's something else that has become very, very it's toxic in social media, and this is why I hate cancel culture. Like, we're always evolving. Just because I disagree with you, just because I have different political views, just because I have different religious views, I ain't trying to beef with you. Like, we still cool. But I can have a difference of opinion, especially if my opinion is based on facts and evidence. That we can't just keep getting caught up in these symbolic things, getting caught up in rhetoric, what the media is telling us. Like, we have to be smarter about the way that we move. We have to be engaged. We have to do those things, because Joe Biden is not the savior that Black people are making him out to be. And I'm sorry, that is just the truth. A lot of people, when I have had these conversations with people, they say, oh, well, anybody can change. Anybody can do that. But Joe Biden ain't changed. He has not changed. And we can't, like, if we're going to really be free, if we're really going to pursue equality, if we're really going to pursue an agenda, we have to start at the foundation and understand that all of this stuff is symbolic, that there has been no fundamental change. So now I want to go into a couple different things. Maybe now is a good time to bring in Twitter. So Joe Biden was coined the media's president a long time ago. You know, he was coined the media's president a long time ago. Mainstream media loves him. You know, and I'm really like confused, because none of us was feeling him when he was running. None of us was even feeling Kamala. But again, when we moved with when we're moving with emotions, you can't really get to those things. And then, Lord, don't let you call it out. You know, then they own you and they making fun of you and doing all the different things that people do. And Precious, you bring up a good point about him. But anyway, like, the reason why I say, going back to this white supremacy problem being a spiritual issue, is because Black people are always like, we're always waiting on God, right? We're always playing the waiting game. And not that we don't have to wait on God, not that we don't need to wait on God. What happens is we get into the waiting and we're not really doing anything. When you're waiting, you can get complacent, especially if you're not taking any personal responsibility in what's going on. Like, if you don't feel a responsibility to our community and you playing a waiting game, that's dangerous at this point. You know what I'm saying? So the last stream, I shared some videos because I want to continue to talk about Joe Biden, talk about this, because what I'm seeing is people praising him, people talking about change, people talking about, oh, this is a new day because Trump is gone. No, no. We're gonna bring the past to the present right now, okay? Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for leaving comments. Please like this video, share it. I want to have this conversation with as many people as possible, just so that we can get down to it, and so that we can stop attacking one another, because I'm not liking what I'm seeing on social media. Not that I'm that important, but I'm really serious about this. I'm serious about it. I'm serious about our future. This concerns me. The things that I'm seeing, the things that I read, the things that I am feeling and discerning, and just what I feel like God is moving us toward, it disturbs me. It disturbs me that enough of us are not engaged. It doesn't make sense that I can make a video about a reality TV show and it gets 600 views in a week, and I'm making one about how racism was started in America and the things that we need to do. That one get 20 views. Like, we got to start taking some responsibility for this, because we love Malcolm X, we love Martin Luther King, we love to quote Kwame Ture, we love the Black Panthers, we love all of them. Those people were our age and younger. I'm 33. They were our age, and they were out there. They were Black agenda all day, every day, because this is not good enough for us. Whereas you have us, we see it, we feel it, we lived it, our parents have lived it, everyone before us have lived it, but we got a little bit more, a little bit different things than they had. And so that has caused us to be disillusioned about what's really going on. And we're not engaged. We're not taking up leadership roles. There's something that all of us can do. Even if it's sharing this video, even if it's leaving a comment, even if it's liking it so that someone else sees it and it's boosted in their algorithm. There are things that we can do to have these conversations, because my fear is, John Lewis passed away last year. He was one of the last people on a very high profile level to be super active in civil rights. We lost an icon. And the thing is, who is going to rise up now? If all we're talking about is Kamala wearing Converse and we twerking on Washington for MLK Day, and we busting it, and we talking about Lori Harvey, and all that stuff is fine, but this has to be a collective effort. Otherwise, the Twitter shit. Oh, excuse my language. Otherwise, the stuff that we're saying on Twitter, the quotes that we post, the hashtags that we use, that means nothing. It means nothing if we're not gonna get up and do the work. Protesting, that's great, but who's working to build the infrastructure? Who's working to raise the funds? This is a collective effort. And we have no organization or leadership really on a national level. And the reason why I say that, you can look at the NAACP, you can look at Al Sharpton, you can look at all of them. Joe Biden dealt with them. And so I'm going to show you that too. So what's going to happen? Wait, I got to bring the Twitter stuff in. So yesterday, I was not supposed to be watching the inauguration while on Twitter, but I was, and I was seeing people's comments. And when I came into when I logged into Twitter, somebody was like, "Why y'all crying?" And I'm like, "Wait, people crying? I need answers. Why are you crying over Joe Biden becoming the president? Why are you crying? No." And so when I did that, someone responded to me, because I later found out after I was, responding and hold on, wait, what? They responded because they had just posted about crying. So I guess maybe she thought that I was referring to her. I was actually referring to everyone. And so one thing about social media is, look, y'all, we're on the internet, right? We know each other, many of us. At least the people that I'm connected to that tend to show up on these broadcasts. We know each other. We're cool. We have either worked together, crossed paths, or whatever. But that does not exclude us from saying what we need to say when it comes to the Black community, because we Black, we all got a stake in this. So we all get to have our position on it. Even if the next person doesn't agree, even if your friends don't agree, even if your family don't agree, you have a right to have your own political view. And so when that happened, I was like, wait. First of all, I was generally speaking because someone else brought it up. But if the shoe fits, it fits. And when we're on like the time and space that we're in right now as a group, we have to tell the truth. We have to be truth tellers at all times, especially to power. We have to tell the truth to our friends. If we don't, that's uplift suasion, y'all, that I just showed you earlier. If we don't, it's uplift suasion. Because what happens is when you go against the norm of white supremacy, when you go against the norm of whitewashing, when you go against the norm of of what everyone's thinking, when you have something critical to say and it looks as though you're raining on the parade, for you to tell someone that they cannot have their opinion, that is to say that, to me, it's like, shut up and be happy with what we got. And that was my response. So someone else then responded saying, for if you say that people can't cry about the inauguration, that's gaslighting because they can be enthusiastic. And so my response was, I'm not a gaslighter, first and foremost. I'm always asking questions to understand. But secondly, if I don't think people should be crying, what's wrong with me saying that? Why do I have to be labeled as trying to gaslight somebody? That is my honest and true opinion. So am I not supposed to say it? Am I not supposed to express it because maybe somebody I followed said that and they thought they felt a way? We can't have it both ways, y'all. If we're trying to speak truth to power, that means speaking truth, period. That means speaking truth when it's uncomfortable. And you can't, we have to let our egos go. We have to let the desire to be right, to be liked. I want to retweet. I'm going to tweet this and I know people are going to like it. And I'm a Twitter celebrity. And we got to I'm not trying to be funny, but that's all I can think about. All I can think about is how over time social media has become this place where, I'm trying to be the first to say it. I'm trying to be the first to say this and get the likes. And, if you come for me, or if you come for me, even if nobody's coming for you, you feel like someone's difference of opinion is coming for you. That's just the type of environment that I feel like social media has become, especially Twitter. And I know I'm not crazy because I have been for the longest been feeling just like I'm not feeling my feed, some of the stuff that I'm seeing. I don't want to losing respect for somebody is one thing, but you don't want to get to a point where you just I don't want to change my view of you based on the things that you're tweeting. So I need to either unfollow you, or I need to I need to mute you or whatever. I had already been feeling like that. And so for that to happen, it really was like confirmation, like, okay, Jessica, you have to, if you're going to do this, you're going to be on this mission or whatever, you have to stay focused. You have to stay focused. And so what I stressed yesterday and I said is that, I'm always going to be respectful. I'm never going to beef with nobody, especially no Black person. I just believe in not doing all that in public. If I got a real issue, I would reach out to you, but it don't even have to be that. I just literally feel like in that moment, people shouldn't have, it wasn't really nothing to cry about. And so that, that's what I felt. And so I'm going to tell you why it was nothing to cry about. I'm going to show you why. Actually, if you watched my last stream, you may have seen some of this, but I want to talk about Joe Biden's legacy first and foremost, because again, Black people over centuries, hundreds of years has been labeled as forgiving, have been labeled as wanting the approval of their white masters. This is the reputation that our community has. This is how we are viewed. as forgiving people. How many news conferences have you seen of mothers who lost their sons saying, I forgive them and I forgive you? Like, not saying you shouldn't forgive people, but when we constantly do that, when we're constantly emotional, like, oh, I forgive you, I know you was wrong, like, that person does not have an opportunity to have their accountability. False sense of unity, that's been a buzzword of the last 2 days. This false sense of unity, this false sense of progression, because we're so forgiving that we don't even say what we need to say and what we truly feel because of uplift suasion. Because when you break all of this stuff down, it's about being acceptable. It's about staying in your place. It's about not talking back, not doing all of that, not questioning things, that's what that's about. It's meant to keep you silent. And we can't like pick and choose what the standard is going to be. If we're going to tell the truth, we got to tell it all the time, even when it hurts. And we can't really be worried about like offending people. The truth is offensive to a liar. The truth is offensive to somebody who ain't ready to hear it. It's not like none of this stuff is a competition. Like, we have to understand, this is a spiritual thing. We have a spiritual enemy that we cannot physically see, but it is manifested through white supremacy and racism. We gotta fight that and deal with that. That is not a person. That's not Donald Trump not being a president. That ain't Mike Pence not being a vice president. That's not these senators. That's not these the insurrectionists. It's an idea. It's a mindset. It's a spiritual thing. So that means it can show up in anybody. So I used to think like, oh, Black people can't be racist because we don't have no power. But no, we can take on racist ideas. We can take to believe that we have to have the burden and be responsible for white people looking at us a certain way. That's a racist idea, because in order to believe that, you would have to believe that something was wrong with us in the first place. And always remember that Africans were kidnapped and brought to America as slaves. When we're talking about founding fathers, that's what we're talking about. When we're talking about the soul of America, that's what we're talking about. When does your soul take form? When you're born. When do you become you? When you're born. The soul of America is demonic. And it's demonic through the way that the Black community has been treated. And I just want us to get to a place where we can call that out and we not be afraid to say what it is in any situation. And like Bree said, it's a conversation. We don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree. It's not a competition. The competition comes from this whole notion of Black excellence, of, oh, I'm smarter than you. I'm the extraordinary Negro. And I'm being funny, but that is literally where it comes from. Black people were made into real life, real time exhibits to prove that we could exist in society, to prove that we were not beasts. They literally took Black people like Phyllis Wheatley, Frederick Douglass on tours to show how good they could speak, to show what they knew. They used them as exhibits. And what happened is that became a thing. That but the nature of white supremacy, white supremacy, the nature of it, was they looked at it as an individual thing, like, oh, that's an extraordinary Negro. They're all not like that. So the very concept of Black excellence is racist, and which is why I don't say that anymore. I don't use that anymore. I don't promote like, oh, this is Black excellence. Like, I just don't. Because that has a racist root. So let's get into Joe Biden. Okay. I'm gonna share this clip. You may have seen it before. I have shared it before. We're gonna talk about the change that people were crying about. We're gonna talk about this change. We're gonna talk. We gotta deal with the reality and the moment. We're going to talk about that. But we got to know his legacy first and foremost. We have to know the legacy of Joe Biden and really understand that Obama, him being connected to Obama was a finesse for him to get here. And it makes me sad that he used a black person to get here. It makes me sad that we can't see beyond the smoke and mirrors of just how we really been played. I have like 2 sets of notes. I got my iPad here. I got my handwritten notes here, so I'm going back and forth, but I'm gonna pull up this video for you really quick.
And one of the people who has stabbed us in the back.
It has an ad, so I'm gonna let the ad play.
You work in a team.
But while you're watching, again, like it, share it, so that we can really have this conversation. Okay, so this video that I'm about to show is from TD Hip Hop Media. And in this video, he made this video in November. So the timing of these videos are important because we're going to connect some dots here. The timing of these videos is important. He made this video on November 3rd, right before the election, to tell people like one last time why they should not be voting for Joe Biden. Now, when I came across this video, I was like in the mindset, like, okay, Joe Biden, Trump. You know, I mean, really, it don't make me no difference because they kind of like one and the same because my life's still the same. But at the same time, Trump is just he wrong for all kind of reasons. And he just wrong, like wrong. We wrong. So I was just like, okay, I'm not comfortable with Joe Biden. I wasn't feeling him. And I didn't have a place to really express that safely. You know, I couldn't tell anybody that. The only person I really talked about that with was my mom, my husband, and my sister. Because I didn't feel comfortable telling people like, hey, I don't really know who to vote for. No, not who to vote for. I'm sorry. Actually, I knew who not to vote for, meaning that I never considered voting for Trump. Let me make that clear. Never consider voting for Trump. But what I mean is like, what do I do? I don't really like Joe Biden. And if my vote is powerful, if it's my right, if it belongs to me, I can use it at my discretion. I don't like this option. And so people were saying, oh, this is the lesser of two evils. Again, I want to challenge you to look at America, racism, and white supremacy from a spiritual lens. Spiritually, biblically, there is no such thing as a lesser evil. Evil is evil. We don't say, you know, what pastor have you ever said, oh, you can have premarital sex because you're not gay. Yeah, that's better. You've never heard any religious leader say that. I've never heard anybody say that. So if we are looking at this from a spiritual point of view, and then we say, oh, there's a lesser of two evils, there's no such thing. Not when you're trying to have transformation. You have to like cut off anything that's bad. And so what ended up happening was where people are like, okay, well, if you can't vote for Joe Biden, then what you gonna do? You know, like who you gonna vote for? And I shared what I did in the last broadcast, but I said all that to say is that I believe that it was divine, that I actually came across this man's channel around that same time that I was like, I just don't know, because I never was feeling Kamala. She was never an option for me even when she began, and she wasn't an option for a lot of us. But we somehow, not we, but you know, collectively somehow just forgot about all of that. So let's get into this clip by TD Hip Hop Media. Let's see. Here we go. So in this video, he's talking about what Black people should be considering as they prepare to vote. and I'm going to make it as large as I can. And it is about 5 minutes, but the reason why I want us to watch this in its entirety is because he takes the legacy of Joe Biden and he brings it into context. And many, like anybody I've ever shown this, said that they never saw it before, never even knew that this was like going on, never knew that someone reported on this. So that's why I want to kind of get you to watch it in about the 5 minutes where he really makes his point. I'm going to go off the screen at this time, but I want you to go ahead and interact in the comments if you have any thoughts about it, because I'm curious to hear them, you know, as we have this discussion.
That's 40 some odd years is your boy Joe Biden. Joe Biden, for the last 40 some odd years, has made it a point to consistently not just author, but put into law. The bills actually get passed, put into law, anti-Black legislation by the way of criminal justice. These bills that he's put out consistently since 1976 have disproportionately locked up Black folks at an alarming, ridiculous rate. One of the funniest things and craziest things that you see in this election, excuse me, and this is kind of part two now. We're moving on to the next phase of what I want to talk about. In these debates and throughout this election, what they're consistently talking about with us is mass incarceration, mass incarceration, mass incarceration. Everybody's talking about mass incarceration, right? Nobody's talking about reparations. Nobody's talking about closing the racial wealth gap. But they'll speak to you to death about mass incarceration. But the fact of the matter is that without Joe Biden, there is no mass incarceration. You see how they create the problem and then sell you the solution? Mass incarceration wouldn't even exist without Joe Biden. The need for criminal justice reform wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for Joe Biden. This is a man who has consistently, throughout the years, pounded on his chest proudly about the fact that every bill, minor and major, as far as criminal justice bills are concerned, that have been passed, has always had his name on it.
I hope this crime bill, when it passes, the Biden-Hatch crime bill, as it becomes law, God willing, I hope that we will have ended once and for all this notion that is a hangover from the 60s, that somehow Democrats are weak on crime and Democratic presidents are weak on crime and Republicans are tough on crime. The truth is, every major crime bill since 1976 that's come out of this Congress, every minor crime bill has had the name of the Democratic senator from the state of Delaware, Joe Biden, on that bill.
There literally is no criminal justice system to reform if there was no Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the reason that everyone's talking about criminal justice reform and mass incarceration. When it came to his, I believe it's the 94 crime bill, he was so proud of how thorough that bill was as it pertains to being able to lock brothers away, that he arrogantly stated that this bill is so ironclad and that it's so tough that it'll lock up, it'll do everything but hang brothers for jaywalking. Don't believe me? I'll play it for you right now.
Let me tell you what is in the bill, and I'll let you all decide whether or not this is weak. Let me get down here a compendium of the things that are in the bill. One, the death penalty. It provides 53 death penalty offenses. Weak as can be, you know? We do everything but hang people for jaywalking in this bill. That's weak stuff.
I'm going to play that one more time. Maybe to you, it might not sound like much, but to me, that speaks volumes. I'm going to play that one more time. It's only about 45 seconds. Bear with me.
Let me tell you what is in the bill, and I'll let you all decide whether or not this is weak. Let me get down here a compendium of the things that are in the bill. One, the death penalty. It provides 53 death penalty offenses. Weak as can be, you know? We do everything but hang people for jaywalking in this bill. That's weak stuff.
Like I said, there is no criminal justice system to reform without Joe Biden. You see, throughout the 80s as well as the 90s and really his entire career, but we focused much more on the 1988 crime bill because of the way in which the disparities were in between having crack cocaine versus having powder cocaine. You see, black folks in the 80s were using crack cocaine and white folks were using powder cocaine. And as many of you already know, I don't have to explain it to you, but I will for those of you who are new to this kind of information. In 1988, Joe Biden, when he wrote up that crime bill, he made it a point to make sure that if you got caught with crack cocaine, the penalties were significantly higher for you, meaning black, than it would be if you had powder cocaine, which is what white people use. You see, when you needed help the most, when black folks needed rehabilitation, they needed treatment, they needed rehab, they needed assistance, they needed help. The same way a lot of white folks need all that today with this opioid crisis that's going on. They're getting it. When you needed it, Joe Biden gave you jail. He made sure to lock you up away from his mother, his son, his family.
The consensus is A, we must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to have to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. The Democratic chairman of the Judiciary Committee, the Democratic president of the United States of America, the Democratic attorney general, the Republican leader of this effort, Senator Hatch, the Republican senator from Texas. We all agree on that. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth. You're looking at the fellow who was one of the primary architects of the Sentencing Commission. You know what the basic premise of the Sentencing Commission is? I know the presiding officer knows. It was the first time in 80 years we rejected the notion that the condition of sentencing must be related to how long it would take to rehabilitate. I'm the guy that said rehabilitation, when it occurs, we don't understand it, notice it. And even when we notice it and we know it occurs, we don't know why. So you cannot make rehabilitation a condition for release. That's why in our system, there's the federal system, you serve 85% of your time. I remember when it was going on, when I was making these arguments in the late 70s, they used to call it Biden's same time for the same crime provision. It's a shame, but we don't know how to rehabilitate. But there is a consensus, and I will cease. A, we must make the streets safer. I don't care why someone is a malfactor in society. I don't care why someone is antisocial. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society, try to help them, try to change the behavior. That's what we do in this bill. We have drug treatment and we have other treatments to try to deal with it, but they are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families.
You see that? When you needed help the most, Joe Biden made sure to lock you up. Now, when his folks need help, they get treatment, this opioid crisis going on that's been happening for about like what, a year, 2, 3 now. I don't see any new crime bills. I don't see anybody getting hard on crime. I don't see anybody getting tough on the drug trade that's happening with this opioids going all around everywhere. Because white folks being affected, not you. But when you were the one being affected, you got jail. He's sitting there in that video talking about how he wished that there was something that we can do as it pertains to rehabilitation. We just don't know. But now all of a sudden in 2020, you know what to do? No, you don't. You're playing games. You think black folks are stupid. And unfortunately, there's a lot of us that have drank the Kool-Aid. But fortunately, from what I've gathered, it's a lot of the older Black Americans as opposed to the younger ones. Now, lastly, I want to get to this last point right here. And I'm going to pull this video up. And it's just something for you to think about and for you to meditate on right before you get ready to vote. All right? The last thing that I want you to think and meditate on is that it's only Black folks. Let me bring it back. It's only when you're running for president or vice president or any other electoral position that you see when someone supposedly is Black is running, like Kamala Harris or former President Barack Obama. You ever notice how when they're running for president, all of a sudden they have to make this public declaration that they're not going to do anything for Black people? You don't see that with other groups. If an LGBTQ man is running for president, he stands proudly on the fact that he's going to do X, Y, and Z for the LGBTQ community. If a Hispanic man is running for president, he stands proudly on the fact that he's Hispanic and that he's going to do X, Y, and Z concerning immigration. If a female is running for president, whether it's Hillary Clinton or you have Kamala Harris as vice president, they run proudly on the fact that when we get into office, we're going to do X, Y, and Z for women. But when it comes to Black folks, like many of you have seen already, we get this.
Why not target the African American community? Why not say then, this is for you? This is for African Americans. If there was a banking crisis, then you target money for the banks. If there was a national disaster, you target your money for the national for disaster relief.
That's not how America works.
So I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna do something that's only gonna benefit Black people. No.
Do you ever see this with any other group? When have you ever seen this? When have you ever heard of that? You literally, when you're running for the highest position in this country, whether you're selected to be vice president or you're possibly going to be president, you have seen consistently now both so-called Black candidates make it a point to make a public declaration that they will do nothing that's going to directly benefit or exclusively benefit Black people. It never happens the other way around. So with all that being said, what are you actually voting for? We've covered the fact that they don't support reparations for the descendants of American slavery. They don't support any type of Black agenda that is exclusively for Black Americans to address the issues and the ills that we deal with in our community. They're sitting here talking to you about criminal justice reform when the man that's running for president, Joe Biden, is the heartbeat of mass incarceration. And then, as we complete this video, you're seeing that it's only so-called Black candidates that make a public declaration to do nothing for Black people. So once again, you're voting Democrat because of what? The lesser of two evils? There's no such thing as a lesser of two evils. Evils is evils. But if we were going to play the lesser of two evils, it for sure wouldn't be Donald Trump. It would be Joe Biden. All the stuff that I mentioned earlier about the racial wealth gap skyrocketing and the prison population skyrocketing, and the fact that by 2053, the average net worth, the average worth of a Black family is going to be zero. That's the projection. By 2053, the average wealth of Black folks will be zero. That has nothing to do with Donald Trump. He inherited all that. That doesn't have anything to do with him. Don't get it twisted. I don't really care for the guy. I don't like him. I think he's an idiot. He sticks his foot in his mouth too much. He's kind of dumb, being honest. But that stuff that I just mentioned, that has nothing to do with him. He didn't do any of that. Now, if you're talking about who did it, it's the system of racism and white supremacy as a whole.
Okay, so can y'all hear me? Let me know if you can't hear me. I feel like I just did something to my audio. But so I wanted to show that video for a couple reasons. Because I had never seen it before until, you know, the things that I mentioned happened. And I showed it to my mom, and as someone who has lived during that time, she was an adult or close to being an adult at that time. She was unfamiliar with it. And so I don't ever want to take for granted that we know this stuff, because I didn't know it and my mom didn't know it. So we're not the only people in America that are Black that did not know this. So that is Joe Biden's history. So now the question a lot of people, or the thing that a lot of people have been saying, thank you, Desmond. Thank you. What a lot of people have been saying is that, you know, well, he can change. He's changed. Joe Biden went on the record saying that, you know, it was a mistake. But just because something is a mistake doesn't mean that we, you know, let it slide. And it doesn't mean that you're entitled to our vote, or entitled to us liking you, or entitled to us not being able to criticize you or say that we ain't happy. And I just want to make that clear. I think we have to understand, like, we talk all the time about the power of the Black vote. Everybody tries to pander to us. And we know that our vote is powerful, but we don't use it logically. We use it emotionally, like we have been characterized as doing since pre-slavery. Well, not pre, but slavery and beyond. We've always been characterized as, you know, being forgiving. That is our nature. And then when you have people at the inauguration saying, you know, having a Black man to say, let's make friends of our enemies, you are continuing to perpetuate that stereotype. And I don't believe that the way he feels, or the way those things, like, we all make mistakes, but people are still living the consequences of his mistake. Yet he's been elevated to presidential status off the back of a Black man, and definitely off the backs of Black voters. And we ain't getting nothing in return. So that brings me to social media. Now, you know, a person, you know, I was kind of going through my social media exchange, and someone said, well, it's just day one. Okay. But okay, I know. But what's that supposed to mean? It's a lot of things he can do, or he could have done, that he chose not to do. And I'm going to tell you why I'm just not, like, convinced, like Bree said, you know, I'm not convinced that he's changed, that he's different, because we have to look at the chain of events. So that stream that I just showed you was November 3rd. That is when, you know, that this man made that stream. Tony is his name. He went on live, did that on November 3rd, talking about the election and what, you know, what the agenda was and all of that. If y'all remember, Black Lives Matter was emailing us every day, doing all these different things to help him win, harassing people to vote for him. They crucified Ice Cube for saying, well, you know, if we're going to vote, what are we getting? What's the plan? Ice Cube was told to shut up, that you couldn't ask for nothing. When Joe Biden won, or Clyburn was saying, oh, they were like, well, what do you want in return for helping him get this win? And he's like, oh, I don't want nothing. How are you a Black politician and you literally save Joe Biden's behind, and then say you don't want nothing, and you Black? Oh, sorry. Thanks, Bree. Thanks. How could you say that? How could you say you don't want anything? So it doesn't make sense to tell people how powerful our vote is, and then to go voting against our well-being. And so the next thing I want to show you or let you hear is the leaked audio from the meeting that he had with the civil rights leaders. Actually, before I do that, let me show you something from Black Lives Matter, since we're saying, you know, this is change, this is going to be something new for the Black community. Let me really ask you, you know, the change that you see. So Black Lives Matter sent out an email on December 10th. I think that's the day. It's going to come up here in just a second. And they're saying we sent a letter requesting a meeting with our newly elected president and vice president. They met with several civil rights leaders and groups, but we were not invited. So all of the people who worked with Black Lives Matter, all of the money that they raised, all of the things that they were doing, they were not even invited to the meeting with civil rights leaders and groups. How is that a good thing? How is that okay? How are we fine with that? Now, on one hand, I don't really feel bad for them because they kind of like made themselves a joke out of themselves, especially with this twerk on Washington. I don't know what they were supposed to do. But at the same time, that points to something. It points to something. If he's different, if he made a mistake, if he cares about Black people to the degree in which he was begging for our votes, why would Black Lives Matter not be invited to a meeting with civil rights leaders? What does that, like, how do y'all feel about that? Are y'all like, are you okay with that? Are you like what are your thoughts? How are you feeling? I'm pulling up the leaked meeting audio. Everybody has commentary on it. I can't get the actual audio, which is all I wanted. But I do have a man who did some commentary. And if you watch my last live stream, I shared part of this video, but again, I don't want to take for granted that everybody knows. So I'm letting it pull up. But you know, if you're just coming in, like this video, share it, please. There's somebody that you know that needs to be part of this conversation. So please do that to amplify it. I'm pulling up the leaked audio from the civil rights meeting that was had, and it was either, let me see when this was. This was December, so around the time that Black Lives Matter, around the time that they were saying he didn't invite them. So it says it's the way Black pastors led him into their pulpits and our Christian tradition, but if you stand for something, that's a good question, and it's because of what I explained earlier. Uplift suasion. We have this, it's this sick, twisted mental bondage, mental, like just this desire to be accepted, to feel like a lot of Black people feel like having connections to white people are good, that this is good. And it really goes back to uplift suasion. It goes back to, this is what we got to do to be, you know, in a good position. And we're really not. Like, slavery has just taken on different forms. And I think that people just are so into this idea that they're doing better and not looking at, or that it means something, but not looking at our group. Like, we have become very, very individual. Like if I'm straight, it's good. You know, like a lot of people who, because they have good jobs, they have opportunities that a lot of other people don't, that kind of skews their reality. Like just because you're doing good doesn't mean that Black people as a whole are doing good, or nor does it mean that our race has seen progress politically, that we've gained power. None of that. And so I think we just have to start thinking of ourselves in terms of a group, and not just when we talking about a cookout or when it's something funny happening on Black Twitter. We have to really get serious about our issues. So I found the leaked audio. I got to pull it back a little bit because I really enjoy his commentary, and I'll probably skip through this so I can get to the point. But he's talked, so we dealt with prior to the election and what we knew about Joe Biden in terms of the crime bill, how he was selling us the solution to a problem that he created, really trying to play us like we're dumb. Then we fast forward, he has won the election, and remember, he told Charlemagne, if you ain't voting for me, you ain't Black. You know, he felt very entitled to the Black vote because we bigged him up, myself included. When Obama was first elected to the presidency, I was in college. I was a student at Jackson State, and we, like, Jeezy had put that song out, "My President is Black," whatever the name of it was. I think that's what it was. We were hyped. We were excited. We felt like we had representation. It was emotional. We loved Joe Biden. We loved what it looked like. You know, you have a Black president. He got a white VP, the white man under him. And I have it it should be in the description box. If it's not there, I will be there. But thank you for looking out the copyright statement. I will put it in the description box. But we was hyped. We was excited. We was happy about that. We loved what it looked like. And so we get caught up in the way things look, especially now more than ever in this social media society world. This world is completely driven by social media. We love the way things look. It's totally built off of what is appealing to us. What's appealing to us, what makes us feel good, is what gets amplified. Like I said, I can talk about a reality show and get more views than I would ever normally get in a day or two than if I'm having these type of conversations. And that is a problem. That's a big problem. We have to change our attitude about learning about our history. This is your history. This is American history. How can we know how to move forward correctly? How can we make informed decisions? How can we transform our communities if we are at a disadvantage of not even knowing our history, not even being engaged, not even being able to connect the dots, not thinking critically, not having healthy discussions and debates, even disagreements, and realizing that at the end of the day, we're Black before we're anything. And you may want to say, well, I'm a Christian before I'm anything, and I'm going to be unified. Well, that is superficial. And if that worked, we wouldn't be here. So even in that way, you are Black before you're anything else. And the best thing you can do is act that way towards your own people, politically, when it comes to what we're telling our children. All of that stuff is really important, y'all. It's really important. So now, again, we talking about inauguration. People are happy and crying and excited for this change. We've seen, like, okay, you did the crime bill. We kind of forgave you, or we gonna give you another try. You all we got because we don't want Trump again. So we'll give you a try. Several days, after all the election results came back and he's, declared the winner, crickets to Black Lives Matter. That does not sound like someone who genuinely cares about what Black people need. Fast forward to the civil rights meeting. And now I'm going to let you listen.
Democrat, and they always So there was some audio leaked. He had a meeting with some civil rights leaders. In a recording obtained by The Intercept, Biden was unenthusiastic about executive action and warned against police reforms before Georgia's Senate runoffs. Okay, so you want to hear some of it? So here's the audio.
And so we would ask you to lend your voice and your strength and your influence and your power and your ability to reach across the aisle to try and pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. But failing that, we would ask you to pull from that act measures that can be enacted by executive order. You have the power to call for a national database on police misconduct. You have the power to ask for a registry that will allow people to easily search in public multiple misconduct complaints against particular officers. You have the ability to impose a database around police killings and police shootings. And these are things that you can do by executive order.
Okay, let me respond.
So all those things, that's exactly true. He could do all those things just like that. And that's why before you pledge your vote for someone, you make sure he pledges to do that stuff for you if he wants your vote. Nobody did that. You weren't allowed to do that in 2016 because Trump, and you weren't allowed to do that in 2020 because Trump. You weren't allowed to demand from a politician something for your vote. And so now these black people just all voted for Joe Biden, and you heard what they demanded, what they're asking for him, because we already voted for you. I've already explained to those people, that's not how politics works. You got to get him to agree to shit before you give him your vote. They did it their own way, and watch what Joe Biden says back to them.
Okay, before I go back to his video, I want to stress that point. And this is what I meant while I'm saying that we have to stop using our emotion. We have to use logic. If we want what we say we want, we have to take a different approach. In what world do you give someone what you have that they want? In what world do you give them that before you get what you need from it, before you get your payment, before you get your whatever it was that they was going to give you? In what world do you give first? You don't. And this is where the Twitter stuff comes in, because when we were having these conversations online, people was making fun of folks. People were making fun of Black people who opted out of voting for president and decided to, vote for everything else, but they did not select Joe Biden. Now, whether you agree on whether you agree on the way it was done, the strategy was to send a message, right? But if instead of us having healthy conversation, even though we're disagreeing, even though we may not understand, instead of us trying to come on to common ground and say, look, what are our issues that we need to deal with right now that we know he can do? And just like they said, he could have done these things by executive orders for the day one people out there. For everybody who said it's just day one. Like, he could have done more than what he did. And I'm going to go into what he actually did. But we could have gotten more for that, considering that we are his base, or what they have, Black people have traditionally been the Democratic base. I don't know if you see how it's changing now. We should have done that. And the reason why we did it is because of uplift suasion. I'm going to keep saying it over and over and over. Over and over and over. Uplift suasion. This is the definition, or this is the summary of the strategy that's in the book that we're discussing in our book club. But I need to read to you exactly what that looked like lived out. Because it looks different from that lived out. Lived out, it is: abolitionists urge free Blacks to attend church regularly, acquire English literacy, learn math, adopt trades, avoid vice, legally marry and maintain marriages, evade lawsuits, avoid luxury, abstain from noisy and disorderly conduct, always act in a civil and respectable manner, develop habits of industry, frugality, and sobriety. That was what was drilled in Black people's head, making it our job to make white people not be racist anymore. So if that's drilled into our heads, we're drilling it into our children's heads. They're drilling it into their children's heads. And it's generational. That's why I said that this is a spiritual thing. The Bible talks about us renewing our minds. A lot of people think that sin, like, you know, I'm struggling in this area, I can't stop cheating. Like, I'm just sinning, I can't stop cheating. I just got a problem with cheating. It's not cheating, it's your mind. It's the way you processing something. It's the way you looking at something. It's how you perceiving some things. How you're perceiving what marriage means, or your relationship, or whatever the case may be. That's just what came to my head. If, like, your issue is not that you don't have self-control, is that your mind got to be renewed. You need to get your mind right. And that is what is going on with us now. That the shackles came off, but they were put on our minds when we're drilling into generation after generation after generation to behave well in front of white folks. And so when white people, white mainstream media is telling us, vote for Joe Biden, this is who you need to vote for, forget all the people that's criticizing them, they woke and they crazy. We he and kiki and laugh about them and make jokes and do sneak disses and all that, thinking it's cute, when what we're doing is a racist, we're a racist strategy that is generations old. Is now we're doing it. So you can't, like, this whole unity, this we moving forward, this is another day. That is not real. That is not how life works. What relationship or that you've had, whether it's a sibling, a parent, your child, or your spouse, or whatever, what relationship have you had where there has been something so detrimental and damaging to happen that you can just move on and everything's great? You got to talk about it. You got to figure out what the issue is. You got to figure out who messed up and what point they messed up and how that affected things. You can't just say, oh, yeah, it was just an insurrection on the Capitol. They came up here with bombs and ripped panic buttons out and stormed the Capitol and people died, but we unified. We're going to make friends of our enemies. That don't even sound right. We are dealing with the spirit of white supremacy and racism. This is spiritual. And this issue that Black people have with turning on one another, using these media, whether it's social media or mainstream media, using these talking points, using these trendy things to turn on one another. That's why we can't get right. It's going to take us renewing our minds and looking at this thing for what it is. This is a generational issue. Nothing can be generational without it also being spiritual. It's no way. It's no way. And it comes from a place of, it comes from lots of places. It comes from fear. It comes from insecurity. It comes from not knowing your value, not knowing your worth, a lack of confidence. It comes from ignorance, not being educated, not really understanding what's going on, not really being aware. And because you seek validation, because you have yet to find your place for real, genuinely in this world, and you're on a purpose that is larger than you, you're coming online seeking validation and really showing your slave mentality at the same time. I don't know another way to put it. And I've been guilty of this too. I am very guilty of this. This change that I've experienced, it's only been within the last 2 years. So I'm not saying something that I hadn't done that I now realize that I was wrong. One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about it is because I can see the direct effects of uplift suasion in my life and all the things that I had to battle and had to unlearn to get where I am now. I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm more confident than I've ever been. I'm just better. Like I just feel great. Like, even with everything going on, I have never felt so good in my life. And it's because I've dealt with it. I no longer measure myself on whether or not white people approve me. And I damn sure don't care if a black person mad at me for that. Whether I know you, I'm related to you, or whatever. I just don't. Because what we're dealing with, it ain't about none of us. It's a mindset. It's an idea. It's a spirit that we have to break so that we can really be who God called us to be. You can't fulfill your purpose in this world and deal with that one thing that God put you here for if you chasing the approval of white people that's dealing with their own type of spirit. How does that make sense? And so I want us to really understand and grasp this concept. We have to stop. Because one, everybody, I don't care if it's day 2 of Joe Biden's presidency or not. He has shown evidence that we really not a priority. And my question is, who other than black people should be a priority right now with everything that's going on in our community, from the disproportionate COVID deaths and infections to police brutality? All of 2020 was protesting for black people. Who more than us deserves to have action on day 1? So when you say it's just day 1, get off of this man, can we be happy? This is change. When you say that, do you understand that you're saying that is what you feel like you deserve? And that ain't good enough for me, because I know that they could do more. And just as we just saw on this, dealing with this leaked audio, he could have done more. So I'm going to pick back up with that, because there are some other things that I want to pull out to make my last few points.
I've got to go. Let me respond. There's a lot to respond to here.
I got to go. Look, I'm awesome. Peace. I got to get out of here. Here we go. Here's his response, right?
Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. Okay? Number 1.
So they just said, you shouldn't be disappointed, okay? That's how he responds. Look, I'm going to say no, and I'm going to be an asshole about it, all right? You already got your vote. Fuck off. That's what he's saying, right, Ron?
You want someone to be nicer, go talk to the other Biden.
All right, there's a lot more to this, so here, let's play it.
Number 2, I mean what I say when I say it. I mean what I say when I say it. I'm the only person.
What is this? He's like Johnny 2 Times from Goodfellas, huh, Ron? Isn't this guy?
He says nothing, but then he.
Okay, so I want to bring us something here. They're laughing, y'all, at us. Like it's funny to them that we did all this shucking and jiving and campaigning and yes, Lord, I'm so happy, I'm crying. We did all of that for him to do that to our leaders, our civil rights leaders, the people that are before us, the people that are in these positions, the people that have been, Team Black, Al Sharpton. I don't know if Jesse Jackson was in that meeting. I feel like he was, but these are icons, and he spoke to them that way. That alone was enough to be like, hold on, you got some stuff to address before you come on here talking about unity, before you come on here telling me that I'm supposed to be satisfied with this executive order that you gave us that really wasn't nothing. You need to what's up? We put you here, what's up? And instead of that attitude, people want to get mad at the folks that ain't feeling it. Like don't y'all, people like me, this is not easy, y'all. I say this every stream. It is not easy to do these live streams, okay? It's not easy. It's not easy. It ain't popular. I would be a fool to think that they're not discussed in different settings. Then, you can't, I know that everybody is not happy about me doing this, whether it's a white person or a black person. This is difficult to do, but we're in a time where we have to be willing to put some type of personal sacrifice. And it's not just about our gain. Like, this is so much bigger than all of us. And especially like, because I have children, I'm thinking about them. I'm thinking like, who are they? Who's going to be their Malcolm X? Who's going to be their Dr. King? Who's going to be their Angela Davis? Who's going to be, who are they? Where are they right now? What's it, Tamika Mallory? You know, she's fulfilling that role with her organization. But look at like Black Lives Matter. It's a mess over there. So like, who do we have? Who's going to be there? And so we have to make a personal sacrifice, whether it's our time, whether it's our attention, whether it's our money to fund a movement, whether it's, you know, having gatherings at home and having these discussions, or starting a book club at home or via Zoom, the same thing that I'm doing. It doesn't have to be you out in the streets. You know, we're not going to be put in danger to be part of this white supremacy fight. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to our people, and our leaders are not getting it done. Our celebrities are not getting it done. They're not doing what needs to be done. They're not saying what needs to be said. All of the money that circulates in our community, we need our own media outlet. We need a Black-owned media company that's talking about our issues all the time, every single day. That's talking about economics for Black people. That's talking about everything under the lens of Black people. Because we don't have that. You know, like, we have to create our own everything. And that should be sign enough to understand, like, this land was not made for us. You know, and even them having a Latina woman sing that and her bust out in Spanish, y'all, that wasn't just a happenstance. Like, that symbolized something. America is big on symbolism. America is really big on symbolism. And that's why I titled this, I Cannot Unsee It. Once you learn about Joe Biden, y'all are never going to see things the same. Those of you watching this, whether you agree a little bit, don't agree at all, whether you all in, you right here with me, you're not going to see anything the same anymore. And that's what I want to do. I want us to not be able to unsee the racism, because when we are looking at the smoke and mirrors and it's hard to see it, we get complacent. History has shown us that. So we need to get into a place where it's like, yeah, it's cool, Trump out, great, it's a new day, but I can't unsee this. So I'm gonna be on his neck, and I'm gonna make sure that we get what we deserve for not we, but those of us, whether we voted for Joe Biden or not, whether we like him or not, whether we like Kamala or not, those are our leaders. And as citizens, we have a right to not be vibing with the elected leader, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican. It don't matter. It's not about a party. It's about policy. So I cannot vibe with the leader. That don't mean you don't listen to me. Hell, I ain't like the people that American Idol chose as the winner, but I ain't stopped watching American Idol. Like, I like the show. I'm that mad I started watching it. So before you start getting on your peers and getting on members of your community, you have to look at it like, hold up, wait, I have a right to shake up the status quo. I have a right to talk about this. I am a citizen. I want to bring up a quote from this book that we're reading, because I mentioned what we need in terms of Black media. When the telegraph was invented and there was, mass distribution of messaging and things like that, you saw there was media evolving, mainstream media evolving. Now, and I'm here to tell you that I'm not talking about the one with Fantasia. I'm talking about the one with the girl. Her name was Journey. She wasn't the one that I wanted to win, but I wasn't happy with who they chose. I wasn't talking about Fantasia. But Yeah, so let me tell y'all, I am a 2-time graduate in the industry of public relations. One of the things that we talk about extensively in public relations, especially on the graduate level, is theory. All grad school is theory. We talk about different media theories, agenda setting, framing. When people listen, I know folks like to talk about the woke community, but when someone says you need to get your sources, your news from places other than mainstream media, they are saying that for a reason, and it is a legitimate one. I'm here to tell you, as someone who has studied media theory, communications theory very extensively, agenda setting is real. Framing is real. The reason why partly our community is so ignorant because we don't really own any mainstream media to be talking about our issues in the way that you saw TD Hip Hop talking about Joe Biden's crime bill. I guarantee you that would have affected the numbers for him. I guarantee you, if that was on prime time, if that was on cable news, if that was on regular news, that would have affected him greatly. That is not a mistake that that type of content is not on TV, that that type of content is not popular. Why Black people talk about woke folks, and why I have said even in the last stream, we got to be careful about that, because when you group when you put a whole group of people into one pot saying they all crazy or hippy dippy or they smoke too much weed or whatever, they hoteps, whatever you want to say, when you do that, you're hurting the whole group. And instead of saying woke, let's say conscious. To be aware is to be conscious. You should want to talk to people that got good sense and that are conscious and that can talk about this in a way that you need to hear it. Because white mainstream media is not going to do that. And so I want to pull something from this book. Again, this is not the book discussion, but this book is so relevant. Yes, Yvette Carnell with ADOS. Please look her up on YouTube. I actually have a little clip from her too, but she's great. Very great, very thorough. Again, you don't have to agree with folks in every way, but you got to give credit where credit is due. Like me and my sister don't agree on a lot, but when she right, she right. When I'm right, I'm right. And we've had disagreements in the past about policy, about immigration, about things like that. But we good. Being sisters helps. But my point is, we can't let the fact that, or the fear that we may not always agree, keep us from having conversations that need to be had. So I want to talk again about the media and just show you this quote. When the telegraph was invented, there was the rapid speed of transmission that was now able to be had, and monopoly pricing encouraged shorter and simpler stories that told and did not explain. For example, the Joe Biden crime bill, we saw it, we knew about it, but they didn't explain it in the way that we just saw it explained. Stories that sensationalized and did not nuance. So depicting Black people as criminals. We see that all the time, even now, the way that they've tried to destroy George Floyd's character, how they tried to destroy Michael Brown's character, Sandra Bland, that recycled and did not trash stereotypes or the status quo. Mainstream media is not going to give you what you need in terms of dismantling the status quo. You're not going to get it there. You just not, because that's against their interest. Maintaining the status quo is their interest, and they drive it through the stories that they choose and the way that they frame them. They set the agenda for what we talk about. And please understand that this is very calculated in all type of situations. Any newspaper editor, they decide whether or not they want to run a story. They decide whether or not you can publish it. If they don't like it, they ain't gonna publish it. So that means when we're working for corporations that are white led, or definitely racist and all that, especially when you're talking about the media, even when it's a black face, you have no control over it. And you cannot rely on white mainstream media to tell you the things that you need to know, because it's against the interest of the country. If everybody we knew, every black person we knew held Joe Biden to the fire, that's against their interest. So they like to be able to do what they're doing and people not really understand what's happening, like this leaked audio that we're talking about. Nobody talked about that the way it needs to be. Nobody really dealt with it. Nobody really said like, hey, he was very disrespectful to them. How dare he talk to them like that? They didn't even really talk about it. They weren't holding press conferences for that. It's like we're afraid to ask for what we deserve. Like we won't even ask for it, much less take it. So like, what is up with that? Why? I mean, like, I know why we're that way. We talked about the uplift, suasion, and all of that, but what is it going to take for us to, break from that? What do you think we need to do? I'm curious to know. Please leave that in the comments so that we can start putting these things in place. Do we need an educational campaign? Do we need to have a concert? Like, what do we need to do to get us to see that we are better when we're together, that we have to learn how to talk these things out? We have to stand united on a united front, not united with our oppressors. We don't have to unite with them to have this country like operate. We can like do what we do, get what we need. They can do what they do, get what we need. We agree that we ain't gonna do nothing that infringe on your rights. You ain't gonna do nothing that infringe on my rights, and we good. But I don't. Why are you telling us to unify with people who are anti-us? And also, when he's making his speech and they're talking about unity, that implies that everybody did something wrong. We didn't storm the Capitol. Black people ain't did nothing. Why are you telling us to unify? You need to be having that conversation with them insurrectionists. So, like, how do you do that? Same with racial reconciliation. There is no racial relations have never been good. What are we reconciling to? We have to talk about these things truthfully in the way that they are. It cannot be sugarcoated anymore. Think about the danger. They maced me. They maced me. Like, you got maced. I would have been, that wouldn't have been what happened to me. So I'm interested in hearing what you think would be good, because my goal with this, again, is to always just have the conversations. I'm just facilitating it. I'm not saying I'm an authority on anything. I'm not saying I know everything, because I don't. But that's like I'm never going to learn new things if new people don't come into the fold and share it. I need to know where we are and what we're thinking in terms of our next moves. And that's another thing, like a lot of people were saying yesterday, who were not necessarily enthusiastic about the inauguration. A lot of them were like, okay, y'all, let's not sleep. Like, this is good. Trump is gone, but we cannot sleep. We still have work to do. We cannot like think that our work is done. We have to continue having these conversations. Y'all already saw all the Black Lives Matter stuff that all these brands and churches and everybody was doing. This stuff already gone. And it ain't even been a year. So it's up to us to keep these conversations going and for it to be important. Stop saying, oh, out of this boring. And like, this is literally your life. Your life is at stake. Yes, a lot. Don't let it rock you to sleep. Don't let what's going on rock you to sleep. I want to go ahead and show the rest of their commentary. They did a little talking that I want to fast forward it through. So just pardon me as I do that. Yes. And another thing, it's kind of like, people have differences of opinions about Trump being on Twitter. And again, this is where that toxic Twitter culture comes in, that people just want to be right. People just want to get retweets and hearts and all that. They want to feel like they're important, that people like their opinion. And a lot of people, like, they're not even concerned about the fact that Trump is not on Twitter. You know, like he incited violence, but now we have to understand that we're at a disadvantage. The little bit we did know was because he was putting it out there. That enabled us to be able to predict things. Now we're at a disadvantage because he's not on social media anymore. So they're not doing this, like there's not a central place for us to go see it, you know, see what's going on and be able to you know, be able to like at least kind of predict, you know. Breathe. I kind of want to know like what he thinking, what's going on with him. And now I feel like we're at a disadvantage, especially when you're talking about mainstream media not gonna be saying like, hey y'all, we heard, you know, this kind of conversation going on. Those kind of stories never come out until they're too late. So now whose eye is on who's got what black person, what black organization got their fingers on what is being talked about in these white supremacist groups, these chats? What black person got their hands and eyes on it? Or what white person have their eyes on it that's gonna tell us? You know, that's just something to think about. I'm not saying because we didn't disagree about this on Twitter, but we were just kind of going, you know, back and forth because I'm saying like, hey, you know, I'm thinking about the implications of this in the future. And he was like, it don't matter. He didn't need to be on social media, blah, blah, blah. Cool. But I'm just saying, what does that mean for us now? Are we saying we're going to rely completely on the media to tell us when these things are happening? What are we going to do about him not being there? And he has been the voice and face of white supremacy. Where's our enemy now? So that's just something to think about. Here is the rest of this clip. I want to fast forward through them talking a little bit.
So like it seems like he's
what I say. Okay, good for you.
Who's ever run on 3 platforms that I was told could not possibly win the election, and I never ceased from it. One was on restoring the soul of this country because of what I saw happen in Charlottesville. That was it. No one else was talking about it. The words of presidents matter. Nobody else. No progressive.
Nobody else was talking about Charlottesville? Wow. How many protests did you attend, Joe? Are you going to lie about being there as the people you stood beside too? Nobody was talking about Charlottesville? That's like saying nobody was talking about 9/11. That nobody was talking about Charlottesville. The whole country was talking about Charlottesville. What does he mean by that, Ron?
Well, in fairness to him, he did run on some bold agendas like nothing will fundamentally change. I mean, that's just...
There's more.
Was talking about. I did.
That's it. So that's his, as they ask him to exercise his executive authority and to do some executive actions that would help their community, his response isn't, of course I will. His response is, fuck off. I said some shit that should have been nice during the campaign. That's it. I'm done with you. The fuck do you think? That's what he sued. Really, that's not a stretch. It's the exact same tone. He's just not saying fuck.
He's like that bitter relative that like you ask for. That's a really horrible.
He was talking about this.
Okay, so I want to bring up before he goes into. Well, I'm gonna let him say this. Let me say this. Yeah, he a mess, Bree. Jimmy is a mess. But I'm gonna let him make his point about Ice Cube because that's really like that's the where I want to kind of conclude. What I it's really no need to go into Biden's executive orders because I can tell you right now, there were 5 executive orders for immigration, and there were 2 for equity, one that dealt with Black people, and basically revoking a commission that was trying to prevent proper education of American history. That's all we got, y'all. So it's no need for me to go through all the executive orders. It's very clear that Joe Biden's platform is immigration. That now we are behind Hispanics, that non-U.S. citizens get more done for them, more policy for them than we do. And when you tell another Black person to not talk about it, when you tell us that we're gaslighting, or it sounds like gaslighting, because we are bringing that issue to the forefront because no one else is talking about that, not no one else literally, but that is not the main conversation being had, that is a problem.
Remember when we covered Ice Cube on the show, he was talking about this exact thing that just happened. So watch what he said.
The way it look, they don't have a plan.
They don't have a plan. Joe Biden does not have a plan for you, workers, or anybody, Black people, Hispanic people, poor people, people without a job, people without health care. He does not have a plan. He doesn't.
Everybody's, talking about get Trump out, get Trump out, get Trump out. If you vote, that's going to happen on the first day. So now what? Trump out, now what? What do we get in the first 100 days?
Nothing. Nothing. You get yelled at.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
You get nothing.
What
you get yelled
do
at.
we actually get that they could give us overnight like that?
Nothing. He could give it to you overnight like that. Joe Biden just said, go pound sand. You should be happy with what you already have. I already did everything I'm going to do you. I said some shit about Charlottesville during the campaign. Go fuck yourselves. That's what Joe Biden is saying to Ice Cube. That's what he's been saying all along. They just haven't been listening. I've been trying to tell people this is what Joe Biden is saying to you. But everybody's like saying, but Trump. Do you want to hear some more of this unbelievable meeting he had with civil rights leaders? Listen to this. There's some more of Joe Biden talking to his base.
I'm the first person, Black or white, who called attention to the fact that you were finding that there was the rate of people who are African Americans who are dying was 3 times that of white people. I don't carry around a stamp on my head saying progressive and I'm AOC, but I have more of a record of getting things done in the United States Congress than anybody you know. Anybody you know.
Boy, he is like Johnny Two Times from Goodfellas. He really is Johnny Two Times. If he didn't work for an upstanding organization like the mob. I mean, no, that's all wrong. Wait a minute. As FBI Director Trey Wilson said, and married to the mob is run by murdering, thieving, lying, cheating psychopaths. We work for the President of the United States of America. Okay.
Anybody you know.
So he just said that he's gotten more stuff done. And here, I'll play it again.
I'm the first person, Black or white, who called attention to the fact that you were finding that there was the rate of people who are African Americans who are dying was 3 times that of white people. I don't carry around a stamp on my head saying progressive and I'm AOC, but I have more of a record of getting things done in the United States Congress than anybody you know. Anybody you know. Anybody you know.
You know his record of getting stuff done? He got the Iraq War done. He got the bankruptcy bill that screws poor people and working people when they go into bankruptcy. He got the crime bill done. Oh, he also got the deregulation of Wall Street done. He also got the Bush tax cuts permanent. He got that done. He also got the banks made bigger done. He also opened up the Arctic to drilling twice, got that done. He also got 5.1 million families kicked out of their house during an economic downturn, got that done. He also got cages built to house immigrants, got that done. He deported more Hispanics than all the other presidents combined, got that done.
And that was more than anybody you know.
So you remember this? You remember when Joe Biden? So this is how he talks to black people after the election, after they all just voted for him. This is how he talks to them.
Come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
Remember this? Remember this when he was asking for their vote? Remember this?
Oh, it's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the.
Oh my God. So whenever somebody asks for something, his response is, shut the fuck up, man. You got everything. I already fucking did everything for you. Shut up. What the fuck do you want? Something for your vote? What? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ron.
Look.
So I also want to add.
Around you, everything's fine.
Uh-oh. Hold on.
Right.
I also want to add that not only was Joe Biden talking to black people who asked him what his plan was like that, black people talked to other black people in defense of Joe Biden who were asking the same question. Black people talk to other black people the way that Joe Biden just talked to Charlemagne. People were doing it to each other. And that's like what I want us to focus on. That's that uplift suasion that I keep referring to, and I will keep putting it out there. That is that right there. What I see happen in our community a lot. Well, I ain't gonna go there yet. I'm not gonna go there yet. I want basically, in other words, what I'm just gonna say it because I need to hurry up. But it's almost as like we use education as a weapon in our community. And it's something I can speak on because I've been guilty of this. I just didn't know that that's what I was doing. I have shared before, especially probably in my last stream where I talked for 4 hours. I shared about how I thought that I was better than my husband. I didn't say that. I never admitted that, but that was my feeling on the inside. Like, I'm a catch because I got way more education than you. I went to college and I lived on campus and I was part of this organization and I was part of that. And I have 2 degrees and we saw Wendy do that on Real Housewives of Potomac. We use education as a weapon. And you want to know why we do that? It goes back to uplift suasion. It goes back to these extraordinary blacks, these blacks that were put on exhibits, these blacks that were said, hey, look at these black people. They're great. Black people are doing good. The rest of them, it's their fault that they in a position they in. We got to stop using education as a weapon. Something that I hate to see on Twitter that I see every single day, all the time, is black people trying to make other black people the butt of their jokes. That shit is old and it's tired. Oh, y'all don't know how politics work. Y'all, I swear y'all must have didn't go. Did y'all have government in high school? Did you learn anything? Did y'all teachers teach you anything? Y'all don't know how politics work. Y'all love to say that as if education is a contest. And you say it to your own people, and it does not make sense. That if you know something that someone else doesn't know or that you think they don't know, since you apparently are the authority on everything politics and political commentary, if they're lacking, how about you inform them? How about you articulate what they're missing? How about you help them out instead of using your education as a weapon, as a gotcha? It's to say, oh, my dick is bigger than yours. I went to here. I got this degree. I'm an attorney. I do this. I'm an entrepreneur. As if any of that means something when we all at the bottom. Our group is at the bottom. So why do we do this to each other? What is so hard about saying, you know what? Maybe they don't understand how government works. Let me try to explain it in a cool, different way. Let me make it fun and engaging so other people can know too. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Why don't we say, man, you know what? Me and my friends, we're all attorneys. How about we help them understand how government works? How about we put together some seminars, some IG lives, some TikTok challenges? How about you do that for your people instead of being just as bad as the white folks and trying to make a joke on Twitter so you can get some clout? How about if you're a media personality and you understand media literacy, why don't you break down some theories and show modern day examples? Why don't you create a group chat about economics, teaching people the stock market? What are you doing? Since they don't know and you seem to know and had the key, what are you doing? What are you doing that is not for your personal gain and benefit? Because it's one thing to do it for your career, but it's another to do it out of love, out of service to your community. It's one thing to do it when you ain't getting paid for it. That's a whole different thing. So what are you doing to help your community other than trying to get jokes off on social media? Our lives are at stake. We have children. They gotta grow up. Are we okay with the way Joe Biden talked? This is after the election. All my happy, enthusiastic, excited people. And what you have to understand about Kamala, we could even look at we could look at her from the point of view of how opposed they were when they were on a campaign trail. For what other reason than seeing an opportunity for yourself would you align with somebody who your whole campaign had a boost from your clapback to him that you sold t-shirts from? What other reason would you then align yourself with this person if it wasn't for your gain and your opportunity? Like, oh, word, I'll be vice president? Oh, okay. What other reason? Make it make sense. And instead of thinking about it from that terms, we look at the symbolism. We look at the smoke and mirrors. Oh, she's an AKA, she's black. Kamala's a lot of things. She's never been pro-black. Never. And y'all have to understand, people who go into politics, they don't just plop there. Even Donald Trump didn't just plop there. He may not have had political experience, but he didn't just plop down in the presidency. There was a strategy. One of the things that I do every day in my job as a freelance communications consultant, a branding consultant, a content strategist, what I do every single day is develop strategy. Okay? When I do these live streams, please know there is a strategy behind it. If I'm marketing my candle company, there's a strategy behind it. If I'm running for office, there's a strategy behind it. It's for a reason. And is your what is your strategy other than your own personal position? Because it's one thing for Kamala to be elevated, but she has been on video. I just showed y'all where she said she is not doing anything specific for Black people. Even with her being an AKA, all the AKAs wearing a pink and green and they Converse, and she wearing purple. Did y'all? And I'll put the links in the description. That was symbolic. The purple was on purpose. Those shades of purple, that was on purpose. Hillary Clinton, Kamala, Michelle Obama, that was on purpose. That was supposed to symbolize the suffrage movement and also unity. Unity was the theme. The purple was the mixing of the red and the blue. There are news articles on this. So if she would have worn a pink coat or a nice green coat, if she would have put that pink and green in her fashions, then I would have been more inclined to say, okay, Kamala, you finna go up in there and shake some stuff up. That would have been a powerful statement. But her statement was one of unity. And not saying that I'm not against unity, but I'm against superficial unity. I'm against oppression, this put in our faces unity. We cannot unify with people who are anti-us. Why are we supposed to be unifying? Why are you telling us that? You need to be, we ain't the problem. We the ones that's at the bottom. We ain't got nothing. We don't have power. We just continue to fall for these symbolic things. And I also, before I keep going, because I'm almost done, Well, I don't have to show any more of that video. I think we're very clear on that. With Joe Biden and his disrespect. And when you talk about I will say this though, when you talk about the executive orders, all we got, I'll show it to you here. Let me find it here. He did 17 executive orders. And so you see coronavirus stuff, economy stuff, equity. Look at this is what Black people got here. Can y'all see my mouse moving? Well, let me know if you can see it. But yeah, that's a whole different conversation, Bree, but you're right. So what we got was this. Now look at immigration. Look at this. Fortifies DACA. Reverses the restrictions on U.S. entry. These are not U.S. citizens. All Black people got with this line right here, that first equity line. Look at what non-citizens got. Look at that, y'all. And then you got the nerves to tell me it's day one. So, do we want actual change or do we just want symbolism? And I want to bring up, I want to say this. We got to stop being so easily impressed, right, by the symbolism. We have to stop being like we got to stop being entertained, because that's really all it is. Like when you're in a symbolism and gestures and stuff, that's all to make you feel good. We got to raise the standard. We got to raise the standard. We've always been white people's entertainment. From the minstrel shows, I've talked about that. You can look at previous streams. We've always been seen as entertainment. So when you see like the young woman who was the poet, that is a wonderful thing. That's great, but it doesn't mean anything that she said her poem there. That has nothing to do with her. Don't take that as me talking about her. This is not about her. We're talking about an idea here. Remember, spirit of white supremacy, spirit of racism. We're not talking about people. We're talking about a mindset, a belief system. That her doing that, Maya Angelou performed. Maya Angelou performed at Bill Clinton's inauguration. Okay, so we've seen this before. This is nothing new. We have to raise our standard. We can't be just comfortable with being their entertainment. Being like, oh, okay, here, it's a young Black girl that's the poet. You know, what we have to understand is that we are, I'm gonna leave it there. Bro, you better stop. I'm gonna have to censor your comment. But I get what you're saying. But we have to understand that we are influencers. Black people are the most influential group of people. Everything in this world, in this entire world, in America especially, everything is influenced by us. And we have the influence on everything. Art, culture, everybody is influenced by us. Influence does not equal power. Influence is influence. If you use it correctly, you can gain power, but that's not what we're doing. We're happy with just the influence. We're happy with just being the movers and shakers. And I'm saying that we're happy with that because when we start to strive for something different, something more, we always get shut down by our own people. All the slave rebellions that failed was because Black slaves told their masters. They told on the other Black slaves who were planning them. This is nothing new. We continually turn our backs on each other to get clout, to get personal gain. So what are we going to do moving forward that has nothing to do with us personally, but it's for our group. I just want to say this. I want to end this with I really hope that we start to take everything seriously, that we start to really get down to our issues, that we start dealing with our issues, dealing with our low self-esteem, dealing with our ignorance in our own history and identity, that we start to deal with and shed light on everything that has been detrimental to us, that we call those things out, that we cast out that evil spirit. Because y'all, I don't know, like, from what I see, when you see his agenda, these executive orders, when you see all of this that was done for non-citizens, I can't just accept that we get a commission revoked. And we've already seen him ignore the civil rights leaders. He's already ignored Black Lives Matter. So how can we just believe that going forward, there's going to be some type of different behavior? I want us to really keep our eyes open right now. What I am trying to do is just build a community to begin having these conversations. Of course, there are a lot of other things along with that, meetups, seminars, workshops, town halls. I'll be doing all of those things. Some of that stuff, it just cannot be in a public forum. We have to build, and we have to build it with one another. And we can't put all our business out there because this is heavy work. We're talking about mind renewals. We're talking about self-discovery and growth. We're talking about calling everything out that has hurt our people. We're talking about holding people accountable. We have to really do that. And in order for us to get to that place, I feel like we just got to do some healing among ourselves. And I don't know necessarily what that looks like, but all I know to do is to try to have the conversation and put that opportunity out there. So thank y'all for watching this. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it with someone you know who you think may be interested. It really makes me sad that we don't amplify this kind of stuff. And like I don't it's not about, like, again, everybody agreeing, but we just don't want to hear it. Like, we don't want to entertain it. So I hope that we can begin to become more comfortable with that. And have those conversations. Like I said, Tuesday I'll be back on discussing the book. What I hope to do with that is eventually move it to Facebook. My whole plan had always been to do the book club on Facebook, have our own private Facebook group. I do have that, but I don't really utilize it because we're so small in number right now that it just don't make sense. That it is a better strategy to do these live streams and all of these discussions publicly so people can just get used to it and get engaged and find their place. And so I'm trusting that the right people will find this at the right time. And so that's why I asked you to share it, or, at least leave a comment or whatever, so that other people can be inspired to do that too. I know that these conversations are difficult. I know that there's a lot that we have yet to learn. There are a lot of things on the table. It's a lot of things that could happen. We still need to be vigilant. We still need to, is that the right word, or do I mean diligent? We need to be diligent. We need to be diligent in this right now. We cannot go to sleep. We cannot be rocked back to sleep. We have to figure out, what our next move is. We cannot rely on the politicians. We cannot even rely on the civil rights leaders because they didn't even stand up to this man. They didn't. The reason why that audio was leaked is because they felt helpless. Like, what we gonna do? So we gotta figure something out. There are a lot of people online on YouTube that have their own movements going on. You might find one that you align with, that you feel like is yours. I haven't found the one, but I do enjoy hearing different voices talk on different things. And I am building up my own media that I go to for the news. I still watch regular mainstream news, CNN, ABC, but I spend the majority of my time listening to individuals like Tony DeLirmo with TD Hip Hop Media. I spend the majority of my time watching their content because they really break it down in a way that's digestible. So I'm going to put their names in the description box on YouTube. I will also link to videos. Oh, so since the toxic social media part was about people crying, I want to I ended up watching a live stream last night where somebody talked about that, and they articulated it a lot better than I could have. So I'm gonna do a little bit of that before I close. But thank y'all. Hang on so you can see that. Again, leave your comments. I'm still gonna be here. I'm gonna make sure I say see you later. But I just want to show that really quick because I just thought about it, because the whole reason I'm even here talking about this now is because of that exchange, because we were talking about people who were crying. And so I couldn't say all of this on Twitter. So I said, I'll just talk about it on the live stream. But this person put it in her own way. She addressed it. So I just want to show just a little bit of that before I'm out of here.
You know, y'all can cry. You know, it's all right to cry. Cry for what? What are we crying for, sir? Oh, some people do anything for a retweet. Anyway, fam, let me get the, as usual. Let me
wait, that's not all of it.
Give me a few minutes. We will come back and we will have. Anyway, listen, fam. I think you and I think we all expected this. I think we all knew this was going to happen. I think we all knew we weren't going to hear anything. But even if you know what you're going to hear, you need to know what you were supposed to hear as well. You need to know what you were supposed to hear. After that kind of that thing, understand that, listen, bam, I've never seen anything like that storming of the Capitol. I haven't seen. You are supposed to give a transformative inauguration speech after that. Your whole life changes. After that, the whole way you're trying to do business is supposed to change. Just like Kamala should have gave a speech apologizing, or at least released a statement apologizing for plagiarizing Dr. King and with freedom. We're just letting these people just skate. There's no accountability nowhere. And that suggests something really bad for the future. And understand, like the person who called in, I think it was the last show. He only gonna have 2 years. And what he's telling you is that he's gonna spend that 2 years kissing up to Republicans. And what I've seen online, what you show me, not y'all, but I'm talking about the Black Twitter in general, is that y'all gonna be there for it. You're gonna be there for this man doing this. You're gonna be there for what he does. You're gonna be there for him BSing us and talking about what he can't get done for 2 years. Then he's gonna lose Congress again, and he's gonna say, I can't do it because of Republicans. I just have a question. How long are we gonna do this? This felt like Obama. I didn't even listen. I read all the stuff. I read all the transcripts. I didn't have the TV on too long. I can't take it because I can't take the stupidity. Don't show me no Negro on TV looking all happy like something has changed. Kamala is Black, but she is the child of affluent immigrants. That's not you. What you said, not sad, but crying, sad face. I remember. Yeah, that ain't you. Totally different category, totally different context to her life. That's not saying that there's anything bad about coming from Africa. That immigrants, that's about the fact that we're not the same though. And I'm not crying for you because you being there is not something that suggests any kind of progress for me. We ain't the same. We ain't built the same. And that's why you there and I'm not. Because you go there to protect the status quo. I go there to turn the tables over. So yes, you would love to have Kamala there because she's not going to change status quo because she is status quo.
Now, I want to leave it at that. I want y'all to marinate on it. think about that. She told no lies. Now, I can understand people being happy to see a woman. You know, that's great. Team woman. But before I am team woman, I am team black. And we know white women, they excluded black women from the suffrage movement. Y'all do know that, right? I'm black before I'm anything else. And even for this is how we be wanting to have it both ways. Y'all will be mad at me because I say this, but then turn around when I'm talking about Stacey Abrams should have been a VP, and then you say, oh, well, the VP don't have no power. She can't do it anyway. So why you telling me I can't be unimpressed with Kamala? It don't make sense. You got to pick one. So marinate on that. Think about that. I am probably not going to do a whole lot more on Joe Biden and Kamala. I'm going to let this thing play out for a little while because do understand this. And this is another thing that y'all be missing. Like, not y'all, but, you know, the people, the naysayers or the people who like to make fun of folks who are not feeling the status quo. I'm talking about them. Like, you know what? I would just leave it at that. I don't want to get into too much political stuff. I want to stay focused on the book, and then, you know, like trending topics. It's just that I just can't deal with the hypocrisy. I can't deal with the hypocrisy and the picking and the choosing of when we want to have this standard. Like, it don't make sense, and it looks stupid and it looks foolish, and we are falling behind. That's all I gotta say. Thank y'all again for watching it, watching this stream, for participating, for liking it, for sharing it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to me on YouTube. I will be back Tuesday, Lord willing, to do the book discussion. It's going to be really, 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 really good because we're getting into the meat of it. We're getting closer to modern day. So I'm excited to discuss it. I will have resources and everything lined up for you as soon as this stream is over on YouTube. So if you want to find the channels that I shared, if you want to learn some more information about those people, please go to YouTube and get that from there. Thank y'all. I enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. I hope that y'all enjoyed it and learned something, or at least it gave you something to think about. Thank you. See y'all later.